Pleased to be joined this afternoon on Zoom from Kyiv, Ukraine, by Iuliia Mendel, the former press secretary to Ukrainian President Zelenskyy. Iuliia, it's great to have you back on the show. We spoke a few months ago when your book came out, The Fight of Our Lives, and a lot has changed. Unfortunately, a lot has remained the same in those months since your book came out.
Hi, Scott. Thank you for having me. I'm really glad to talk to the audience again. Well, yeah, a lot of changes, a lot to talk about, and a lot of ahead of us in the next few months.
Now, I think that many Americans are still impressed at the resolve of the Ukrainian people in fighting the invasion from Russia. But I think many of us on the side of the Ukrainian people are surprised at how partisan the issue of supporting Ukraine has become in the United States. Now, President Biden is sending, we learned last week, 31 tanks made right here in the Northwest Ohio area to Ukraine. I don't know that that's enough, and it may not even be the right weaponry. But a lot of people are now asking the questions, why are we continuing to support Ukraine in a war, a battle that doesn't seem to want to end anytime soon?
Oh, well, yes, Scott, definitely a very good question. Let me say that this is definitely not the longest war ever, right? That was lasting, but
I mean, look at
definitely
America's involvement in Afghanistan, which is part of the reason why we're hesitant to get involved more.
And here we have much more hope for ending this war soon, but most importantly, that we will win. Like you cannot find a Ukrainian who has doubts that we will win this war, because we see how determined we are, because we have access to the soldiers. We have like a lot of friends and, beloved us relatives who went there, and they all say, that we are gonna stay here. Like, we are gonna stay here. Even if we talk to such hottest parts of Donbass as Bakhmut or Solidar, where we see like absolutely like bloodshed there, and Russians are unstoppable, right? And the loss of people, etc. And they say we will stay. But most important, so many people, millions of people believe in this country. And this is not just because this is, a land or a territory, resources. This is the same as Americans believe in America, We believe that this is our homeland. We dream here, we plan here, we build here, and we stayed here. Many, many of us stayed here. In Kyiv, if you come to Kyiv, for instance, there are as many people already that used to live before the war. Before the war, we had 3.8 million of Ukrainians living here, now 3.6. I mean, like, people don't want to leave. People don't want to be refugees. And we see that many people, they even make jokes now that probably we missed our chance to fight Russians when we were here, when they attacked us again. So we are waiting so that they attack us again, and we can give a chance and battle them back. Like females say this, kids, it's just like a joke that exists in the society. So the thing is that I think that every American appreciates freedom, that is fundamental value for building your society. Personal freedom, freedom in the society, and the state freedom that makes America so strong country. So this is the value for every Ukrainian, and that's what makes us, similar, and that's what we are fighting here for, to be free, and to be independent, to stand for the values.
And from the standpoint of America and our allies, I think it's important to show support for the people of Ukraine and your government standing up against Vladimir Putin and the Russian invasion, because Vladimir Putin won't be content to stop with Ukraine or a portion of Ukraine. If he is victorious, even to a small degree in your country, he's going to want more, and Russians will continue to move forward in other countries, perhaps in a NATO ally.
Look, Putin has systematically been developing the narratives of hatred in the society, aggression towards everything what is based in the West, towards the United States, towards, Western European Union countries, towards Ukraine, everything that is different. And this hatred, that exists in the society on the emotional and painful level. But right now, what they're doing, they're trying to fight the Western standards, but at the same time, they fight them in Ukraine. And that's impressive that we saw how Ukrainians, who actually are not an aggressive country and have never attacked anyone, stood against this Goliath, right? It's like David Goliath fight, stood against this huge autocracy, 140 million people, the biggest territory, like a country by the territory in the world. And they actually broke their teeth here. So there is a question, if they're capable to fight NATO countries, which are very, very strong. But at the same time, look, they don't care about the logics of the war. They don't care if they lose. They just send people more and more for death, like in World War II they were doing. And that's their strategy. They are fearless, and they promote more and more aggression. So we know, like the Baltic states, Poland, Moldova, they understand that without any logics, this autocracy is able to attack. Especially, for instance, Moldova can be first. It's also non-EU, non-NATO country. Baltic states, Finland, why Finland wants to join NATO right now. They understand what Russia is. They have been fighting 2 wars with them, and they understand how ridiculously illogical and aggressive Russia is. So definitely when we are standing here, we are fighting for the freedom of so many people. We are fighting for the rules, of the Western world, for the values of the Western world. And if we don't stop Russia, they will understand that they are capable to move forward. So we believe we're not just standing for the land here, right? We believe that we are fighting for something more, for the world order that was established after the World War II here.
And for the future of your people and the future of democracy in your country. We're talking to Iuliia Mendel. Her book is The Fight of Our Lives, My Time with Zelenskyy, Ukraine's Battle for Democracy and What It Means for the World. You were former press secretary to President Zelenskyy. One of the concerns senators like J.D. Vance from Ohio has about continuing to send money to Ukraine is rampant corruption in your country. Just last week, there were, I believe, 6 members of the Ukrainian government who were arrested and ousted for corruption charges. How rampant is corruption in the Zelenskyy administration? You were there. What can you tell us about that?
Well, definitely anyone can check me, and I wasn't involved in any scheme. I'm like the most transparent person ever. And I'm really glad that these people love the government. I'm glad because this is a huge step for Ukraine. This is like, you cannot solve any issue if you don't recognize it. And this is probably the most difficult part, to stand in front of everyone publicly and say, I recognize that probably there is some unethical behavior there, and probably these people did something low, and probably these people do not deserve to continue being the part of our government. This is the most difficult step to recognize. But this shows a very important change in Ukraine as a part of post-Soviet space. You cannot find any other country near Russia that will do the same. Belarus, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, all of them say, like Russia, we don't have any corruption, which is, not true for any country in the world. Here, there were no true allegations, but we know that there are some cases investigated. Ukraine has built a very important, very independent anti-corruption structure after 2014, and it was built together with the Western allies, and we know that the United States is heavily involved in this. So there was no actually any proof. Yeah, there was one proof about very huge bribe, $400,000 of bribe. And there was an allegation about suspicion about probably more rising price for the food that was bought by the Ministry of Defense. But one person lost his job, not because of corruption case allegations, but because he was driving publicly a new Porsche. And it wasn't even his Porsche. But the case is how morally a person can afford, when the country is being destroyed and so many people lost their homes, think about driving Porsche. Like what leads you to this, right? And he was like a close.
Yeah. I would say we in America are not ones to be able to cast stones at the glass houses in Ukraine, because you look at the rampant corruption in our own Congress, where you have members of Congress, Nancy Pelosi and Paul Pelosi, for example, making millions of dollars every year on insider trading deal. We have city council members at a local level who are being bribed by getting an extra slice of carrot cake at a dinner with a lobbyist. So there is corruption in America too. We understand that it should be rooted out before the aid is sent, absolutely, but it's part of that ongoing effort. Before we're out of time, and I know we're limited, the tanks that are being sent, will they help? 31 tanks is not a lot, and with that come the need for a dozen or so support people and training for each one of those vehicles, which doesn't seem to be enough armament to even defend one city like Kyiv.
It's never enough when the war isn't going, because everything tends to run out. The ammunition definitely is the first thing, that form people, everything tends to run out. But the thing is that you cannot imagine how helpful it is. Like, it's like not the war by pairs, right? And the one who will have modern equipment will win. So these tanks, they are absolutely new. They are capable to defend Ukrainians, and they're capable to provide us opportunity to get our lands back. So we heavily rely on this. We know that many Ukrainian soldiers started their training to get the tanks. We know that the first tanks will come at the end of March, and we know that Russia is going to start a new offensive soon, and it can happen at the end of February or March or maybe April. So what we are doing right now, we're trying to get as much as possible modern equipment, modern tanks, modern weapons, to be able to defend and to be able to get our lands as much as possible back.
We're talking on Zoom with Iuliia Mendel, and you're in Kyiv, Ukraine right now. What's the scene? Briefly describe what's happening in your hometown, in your city right now.
So first of all, let me say that Russia shells every day 8 regions of Ukraine. This is the quarter of our country. And my hometown, Kherson, which is in the south, is shelled like they're trying to destroy it. And then my mother lives there, my parents there, my aunt there. Like, we're talking with my aunt in the village, and she writes me they're shelling right now. So it's very difficult. But Russia organizes massive attacks to every region of Ukraine every 7-10 days. So we sit here under the sirens, and last attack happened several days ago. A person died from a shrapnel in my district of Kyiv. So the windows were shaken. We hide, we go to the bomb shelters, to the metro stations, sometimes just to the bathroom or to the corridor. And this is absolutely disgusting and immoral type of behavior, because they shell schools, hospitals, maternity hospitals, kindergartens, and it's endless. But we are shocked, still shocked, that there is a nation with so much hatred and everything they want just to kill us for being different and for being free.
Iuliia, it's great to catch up with you. Our thoughts and prayers will be with you and your family and the people of Ukraine. I'd love to stay in touch with you. Stay safe, and we'll talk soon, I hope.
Scott, thank you for talking, and thank you for telling the story of Ukraine these days. Have a good one.